scams when giving to charities. We'll have those stories and more, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
We've been mired with it for 3 consecutive days, and so now I guess that they get a little fog in Springfield and Wichita and Kansas City. The National Weather Service will go, oh, maybe we should issue a dense fog advisory. So that is what we've had. Now we're used to this. We've been through this on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Lasts until 10 a.m. This will be a little bit more widespread than what we saw yesterday, where the fog dominated the central and eastern portions, as we're now seeing it creep into the west, into the south as well. Remember, 10.0 is perfect visibility. We're down below 2 miles already in Independence, and we're pushing 5 miles, which is not too good in Lamar. Skywatch Storm Tracker, little light cloud cover. That always hampers having that fog burn off. That's why it lasted so long yesterday. But all the rain stays off to our east on Thursday morning, with temperatures ranging from low 50s. We still got 53 out there in Neodesha and Parsons, all the way into the almost mid 60s there for Nevada and Stockton. Throw Lamar in at 63 as well. Nationally, everything just stays to the north and to the east of us. We're going to get sunshine today. That'll be a welcome relief, with a severe thunderstorm risk map not putting anything in our way. Temperatures beginning to warm up. We'll get up to 80 today, and that's just the beginning, because remember, the heat wave is going to carry us through the weekend. We're going to be talking about approaching 90s here by the time we get to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So you slipped that 91 back in there.
Maybe if you run up to the northeastern portion of the 4 states, you get lucky, it'll be 87. Go down to the southwest, probably be about 92, 94.
All right. Well, we'll be ready for it, hopefully.
Hey, nice temps next week. Just going to be a little bit of a wet one with sporadic rain.
Yeah. You win some, you lose some. All right, thanks, Michael. COVID-19 vaccination status is affecting some people's health insurance rates, but apparently not in Missouri. Delta Airlines recently made headlines when it announced it was raising insurance premiums on its unvaccinated employees by $200 a month. Missouri's COVID-19 dashboard says a little over 48% of the state's population is fully vaccinated, which means a lot of Missourians will be paying more if their employer goes the same route as Delta. But the president of Joplin's Insurance Center says that's not currently the case in the Show Me state.
We don't have any providers that we represent that I'm aware of that even ask the question if you're vaccinated or not. That's for group health insurance, life insurance, group life insurance, and certainly any workers' compensation. It's been a non-issue so far.
In our next half hour, we'll hear from the Insurance Center president on whether he thinks insurance providers will start asking about vaccination status in the near future. Pitt State University officials report 0 new COVID-19 cases in the past week. 27 symptomatic students were recently tested. None were found positive. In the same period, no faculty or staff members reported an infection. Last week, there was only 1 new positive case. The Jasper County Health Department reports 3 more residents have died from COVID-19. Officials say the residents all were women, 1 in her 30s, 1 in her 40s, and 1 in her 50s. These newest deaths bring the county's total to 222. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and many people will be looking for ways they can help fund charities trying to end the terrible disease. But the Better Business Bureau is warning people to be careful about what charities they donate to. The Bureau suggests always researching a charity before donating or buying pink ribbon products.
Last 3 years, Better Business Bureau has seen 25 charity scams involving cancer reported to our Better Business Bureau scam tracker. And out of about 580 charity scams are reported over the same period. So that tells you there's quite a few charity scams out there.
Apologize about that.
We can find information about potentially fraudulent organizations on the BBB website. You can also use that site to report scams. Some area students on Wednesday got a valuable lesson on fire safety. The Stella, Missouri Fire Department visited Triway Elementary. Firefighters taught the students about fire prevention and what to do if they are involved in a fire.
So this week is Fire Prevention Week, and the Stella Fire Department has come down to talk to our pre-K through 4th graders about fire safety and what to do in case of an emergency, and just to kind of get them acquainted with what a fireman looks like so they won't be scared if they were ever to be in an emergency situation.
Fire prevention lesson was provided to pre-K through 4th graders. A new legislative audit says that many Kansas school districts are not taking basic steps to protect their computer systems and the privacy of sensitive information collected about students. The report released by the legislature's auditing agency based its conclusions on a survey sent to the state's 286 local school districts, with 147, or 51%, responding. The audit said that more than a quarter of the school districts surveyed did not have antivirus software on all computers. The auditor said only 34% of districts said they scan computers for vulnerabilities at least once a month, while 35% said they never did it. Missouri Southern is hosting its Southern Summit. The Southern Summit is a chance for professors and other educators to develop tools to recruit and retain students. It's also an opportunity for staff members to connect.
It's usually individuals on campus, experts, in their own fields. So we have a lot of talent at Missouri Southern. We just don't get to necessarily share all of that with each other because we're kind of working in our departments or in our own groups. So this is a great opportunity for people to be able to mingle and to learn from each other and just to engage in that camaraderie that we have here going at Missouri Southern.
Keynote speaker was Dr. Daryl Davis, Assistant Superintendent of Equity, Inclusion, and Innovation for Kansas City Public Schools. It's 5:07.
Anything from 53 to 63, a couple 64s even on this Thursday morning. Temperature is very, very nice. Here's our big problem, 3rd consecutive day. Not that we've had an advisory, just that we got to anticipate very dense fog. Visibility numbers will continue to slip even after we get past sunrise at 7:19. Let this thing burn off. That advisory lasts until 10 a.m. Mostly sunny skies after that. A little southeast breeze overnight. Now that wind's not coming in from the north, we know what that means. Hey, a little bit of some summer-like heat coming back. Today, not too bad. High around 80 degrees. Then 89, 91, 88 as we head to the weekend.
This morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Cardinals fall in a nail-biter. Plus, have you done your good deed for the day? And recognizing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
After back-to-back games at home, Missouri Southern Lions on the road this weekend, up to Jeff City to take on Lincoln. Southern 1-4 through the first 5 weeks of the season and trying to avoid their 3rd straight loss on Saturday. On the other side, Lincoln dealing with their own struggles. Blue Tigers 0-4 to start the year. Missouri Southern defense trying to stay rolling after a pretty solid performance against Pitt State last week. In that one, they held the Gorillas to their lowest offensive output of the year in terms of yards and forced 2 Pitt State turnovers twice in the red zone.
Probably the most impressive thing about our defense is they don't flinch. We've faced teams week in and week out that are having success 30-30. And our guys continue to keep their chest puffed out, and we find ways to make plays in the red zone. You have to have the ability that when you give up a play to know that it's not over until they cross the goal line.
The confidence definitely grows week by week. We show up every day. We try to be as consistent as we can. We work hard. The tempo is great. I feel we're going to have a great game on the defense end, so I'm just looking forward to the game. I'm focused.
On the high school level, Joplin Eagles host the Carthage Tigers Friday night. It's easily the biggest game of the week, probably biggest game of the season in our area. Both teams headed into Friday undefeated. It's going to be a test for both defenses because, well, the offensive have no problem scoring points. Carthage is averaging 45 a game, Joplin 42 a game. Eagles will have their hands full with the Tigers' rushing attack. That's led by running back Luke Gall and quarterback Caden Kebance.
Those are the two that most people will start the conversation about. But honestly, I feel like their O&D lines are really good, and those are what stood out to me. Obviously, the quarterback and running back are both very good, but the O&D lines also stood out to me on film. As coaches, anytime it's homecoming week, the thing that we really look forward to is the game. So let's get to the game. Let's get the game started. Let's get rolling.
Playoff time for the St. Louis Cardinals on the road. Winner take all National League wild card game. Trying to keep that season going against the Dodgers, and the Cardinals actually get on the board first against the reigning World Series champions. Max Scherzer with a wild pitch. Tommy Edman's going to score. Edman with 3 hits last night. The equalizer wouldn't come until the 4th inning. Adam Wainwright pitched 5 1/3 innings of really good baseball. His lone mistake came to Justin Turner. At that point in time, Turner, the 3rd Dodger to hit a walk-off home run in a clinching game. That goes back several years ago. Well, guess what? In the 9th inning, Chris Taylor became the 4th Dodger to do it. 2-run shot off Alex Reyes, walk-off. 3-1 is your final as the Dodgers advance to take on the San Francisco Giants. Only the 12th time in Major League Baseball postseason history that we've had a walk-off home run advance to the next round of the playoffs. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, Israel goes native in the fight against forest fires. And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
A journey.
Rolling up on 5:17 on this Thursday morning. As a matter of fact, we will be there in about 20 seconds. Watches and warnings. Let's talk dense fog. That's indicated in the gray right there, running all the way from the Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri-Iowa state lines down through us into northeast Oklahoma, and then cutting across Arkansas all the way through the Mississippi River to portions of Mississippi and Tennessee. So that's impressive as far as the geographic scope of the dense fog, and hours lasting until 10 a.m. Now, I'm really surprised with the dense fog that we've had past couple of days. This is between you and me. I'll tell the National Weather Service I said this. Between you and me, I'm surprised we didn't have dense fog advisories, at least for several of our counties here past couple of days. Here's the indicator what that means, though. Our visibility numbers that what we see right now are going to continue to decrease. We're not going to get any better anytime soon, and we've got to wait until 7:19 until we get to sunrise. Now, when we do get to sunrise, we won't be shrouded in the cloud cover like we were yesterday. Should be able to begin a nice little burn off here relatively soon. Our temperatures out on the eastern portion and considerably more mild, I don't want to say warmer, but more mild than what we're seeing out to the west, because Neodesha sits at 53. Compare that to 64 in Nevada, 63 in Lamar. Yates Center, kind of our anomaly, along with Chanute right there. Getting just a little warm bubble up in the northwest. They sit at 59 and 61 respectively. Miami right now at 58. Really all the action stays off to the east. They do have a chance for some pretty good flooding in the southeastern portion of the United States. And one of the reasons why is not only for the southeastern portion but the mid-Atlantic. This thing is not going to become a named storm. But we've been tracking this thing ever since it kind of popped up on the north side of Puerto Rico, and we knew it was making a beeline for the Carolinas. And there it is right there. It's going to be a good bout of rain for them with that system. Our weather trend, mostly sunny skies, up around 80 degrees, so just a touch above where we normally anticipate being. I don't think we're going to really see any of that counterclockwise motion, even though it streams in right there. We're not going to see any rain today. What we will see is a heat wave that's going to be on us and take us up into the 90s there by the time we get to the weekend. Turn our attention now to the KOAM News Now Facebook page, and our morning Insta poll is a 6-year-old California girl is in the middle of a fight for her life. She has a rare type of brain cancer, and she's focused on helping others. Abby Alford introduces us to her. We'd like to caution you. Some of these images may be tough for viewers to see.
It's only been 2 months since 6-year-old Layla was diagnosed with a rare strain and aggressive brain cancer called anaplastic supratentorial ependymoma cancer. And all she wants to talk about is her dog, Hey Man.
My puppy is 6 years old.
She loves animals, travel, and loves the water.
You have to go all the way over there.
So her dad wanted to create a meaningful GoFundMe.
You know, it's Layla, it's other kids, and it's the planet, it's the animals that she loves.
It's turned into a fundraiser, which will raise money for research at St. Jude's Children's Hospital and also for animal charities of Layla's choice.
She said that she doesn't want to have this happen to any other kids.
Layla has already had 2 brain surgeries to remove the tumor, and tissue was donated to Radies for study.
They cut it the same way they did the second time.
She's had radiation and chemo will start in December to help stop the spread of the cancer.
Do you know most kids can't sit still for radiation? And I don't have to go under anesthesia for radiation.
She's already spreading kindness. A couple of boys in Bozeman, Montana heard about Layla and started a lemonade stand.
The world needs more leadership and more leaders, and we're just trying to, lead in such a way.
And another way Layla's giving back, she's just one of 60 kids in San Diego County who's part of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine trial for kids ages 6 to 11.
So I think it's important for other parents to hear from people that were part of the trial and say, you know what, it went very smoothly for us.
Giving back may be Layla's best medicine because her love of exploration is what may keep her alive.
Our question to you this morning, how often do you give back to your community? Let us know by going to komnewsnow.com/vote or connecting via our Facebook page. Be back with Health Watch next.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Experts and patients want to get the message out to young women. Your lack of family history, good health, even your young age does not make some women immune to breast cancer. Dr. Max Gomez has the story of a former Rockette who's being treated for the disease and raising awareness.
Erin Monteleone is just 37, has a healthy lifestyle, and is definitely fit. In fact, she's been a Rockette for 7 years and performed with the Metropolitan Opera for 6 years. That's her on the left. But a few months ago, she felt a lump in her left breast.
They discovered actual cancer on the right side. So the left side was a benign cyst, and they found cancer in the right breast and right lymph node.
Erin's oncologist at Mount Sinai, Dr. Paula Klein, says that women Erin's age are not generally screened for breast cancer, even with a family history like Erin, because her mother didn't develop breast cancer till age 63. But young women do have special considerations if they need fertility-damaging chemotherapy.
There's a massive effort in the beginning to have them consult with fertility and to make some sort of arrangement for fertility preservation, whether it's egg freezing, embryo freezing.
Erin is getting chemo every 3 weeks before a double mastectomy and reconstruction. But for about 10 days or so, Erin feels well enough to take and teach dance classes, because dance has been her life and passion since age 3, and it's what gives her the strength to persist.
What will I do after this? Where will I go? What stage will I perform on? So that's what's gotten me through all of the treatment.
Erin wants women to remember that even young women can develop breast cancer. Dr. Max Gomez, CBS News, New York.
Experts are concerned about what they're calling a tsunami of breast cancer cases in women who postponed their screening because of the pandemic. They're reminding patients that hospitals and screening centers are safe and to schedule their checkups. That's a look at today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Thursday morning temps from 53 up to 65. Look at that nice little bump up in Nevada. That's not too bad. 59 right now in Joplin. Big thing for this morning is the dense fog. This will be 3-4 consecutive days that we've had to put up with bad visibility for the morning commute. First day of an actual advisory, but by now, hopefully, we're kind of used to it. Afternoon planner, we'll burn this off, get up into the high 70s, if not 80, with a whole bunch of sunshine, and then let the warm up begin, as we'll be scraping up against 90 degrees there all the way into Sunday. All the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Coming up, COVID drives insurance rates up for some states, but not Missouri. And some good COVID news for PSU. Also, beware of scams when giving to charities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll have those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Dense fog is our main concern for our morning commuters. We've got a dense fog advisory lasting until 10 a.m. This thing stretches all the way from the state lines of Kansas and Nebraska, Missouri and Iowa, down through northeast Oklahoma, and then east of the Mississippi River as well. When we talk about our visibility numbers, they are going to go down even as we get a little past sunrise at 7:19. So remember, do not use your brights. Regular beams, a lot of room between you and other drivers. Watch out for the kids at the bus stop. Now the nice thing is, once we do get some sunshine, fog shouldn't last as long as what it did yesterday, because it will actually begin to take effect. Yesterday we had the sun trying to get through the cloud cover to get to the fog. That's why it didn't want to go anywhere. Our temperatures are high right now, 65 in Nevada. It looks like 53s that we're hanging on to in Neodesha. We've got a whole lot more 60s in southwest Missouri than what we do in southeast Kansas, and then Miami and Grove sitting at 58. Everything stays off to the east and to the north of us today. We're just going to be the recipients of some good old-fashioned mid-October warmth. Get up close to 80, probably scrape a couple 80s out of the barrel here by the time it's said and done. All that rain that's left over for central Missouri, not going to amount to anything. And look at that, clear as can be headed on into Friday. So the heat going to stick around, that's for sure. And we'll talk about anywhere from 90, 89, 91, 88, 6-1, half dozen. Get some rain there Sunday night and Monday. It'll cool us down. A little thunderstorm activity, get us back into the 70s and mid 70s, low 80s for next week.
This weekend, though.
It'll be great.
We'll handle.
Great.
All right, thanks, Michael. COVID-19 vaccination status is affecting some people's health insurance rates, but not in Missouri. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to a Joplin insurance specialist to find out if the pandemic is affecting premiums.
Delta Airlines recently made national news when it announced it was raising insurance premiums on its unvaccinated employees to the tune of $200 a month. According to Missouri's COVID-19 dashboard, a little over 48% of the Show Me State's population is fully vaccinated, which means a lot of Missourians will be paying more for their health insurance if their employers go the same route as Delta. But the president of Joplin's Insurance Center says that's not currently the case, at least with the major insurance providers that his company represents.
We don't have any providers that we represent that I'm aware of that even ask the question if you're vaccinated or not. That's for group health insurance, life insurance, group life insurance, and certainly any workers' compensation. It's been a non-issue so far.
But what separates Delta Airlines from other employers who offer health insurance to their employees? Mr. Brothers has some thoughts.
Many larger companies are self-insured, and so therefore they define their own benefit plans, and they can make whatever requirements for their plans that they want to. But in our local marketplace, there are self-insured companies. We've heard of no one requiring people to pay more premium because they're not vaccinated.
And while the Insurance Center president can't predict the future, he says he doesn't see the situation changing.
My own opinion is we won't see it become an issue from an insurance underwriting perspective. They don't ask questions about other vaccinations and things or flu shots.
In Joplin, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Insurers may not be raising premiums based on COVID-19 vaccination status, but an analysis from the Kaiser Family Foundation found 72% of health insurance plans are no longer waiving out-of-pocket coronavirus treatment cost. Pitt State University officials report 0 new COVID-19 cases in the past week. 27 symptomatic students were recently tested. None were found positive. In the same period, no faculty or staff members reported an infection. Last week, there was only 1 new positive case. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and many people will be looking for ways they can help fund charities trying to end the terrible disease. But the Better Business Bureau is warning people to be careful about what charities they do donate to. The Bureau suggests always researching a charity before donating or buying pink ribbon products. You can find information about potentially fraudulent organizations on the BBB website. You can also use that site to report scams. Attorney General Merrick Garland is asking the FBI and state attorneys general to get involved in violence against school workers. Crimes from threats to assaults have been on the rise as school boards across the country address controversial issues like mask mandates and how educators teach about things like race and sexual equality. Garland's memo comes days after the National School Boards Association asked the Departments of Justice, Education, and Homeland Security to investigate. That organization referred to clashes at public meetings as forms of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. Garland is asking federal and state officials to meet with local leaders to discuss strategies to protect school workers. On Tuesday, a Facebook staffer testified to Congress about what she sees as the company prioritizing profits over public good. The focus of the hearing was on Facebook's internal research that showed Instagram can have a negative effect on young people. We spoke with Missouri Senator Josh Hawley yesterday, who said he's pushing legislation that could see tech companies sued over damages to children.
What we've found out from the big tech companies is that they're so dishonest. They target our kids. They know that spending a lot of time on their platforms is bad for our kids, and then they've lied about it to Congress. Here's the easy solution, I think. Let parents sue. If your kid has suffered mental harm, they've suffered real harm, and you can prove it, you ought to be able to sue them.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg addressed the whistleblower's allegations on Facebook, saying in part that instead of ignoring that young people use technology, tech companies should build experiences that meet their needs while also keeping them safe. A new legislative audit says many Kansas school districts are not taking basic steps to protect their computer systems and the privacy of sensitive information collected about students. A report released by the legislature's auditing agency based its conclusions on a survey sent to the state's 286 local school districts, with 147, or 51%, responding. The audit said that more than a quarter of the school districts surveyed did not have antivirus software on all computers. The auditor said only 34% of districts said they scan computers for vulnerabilities at least once a month, while 35% said they never did it. Domino's in Pittsburgh is also taking part in Fire Prevention Week. Some customers yesterday were randomly selected and surprised at the door with their pizza being delivered by a fire engine. If the smoke alarms in the customer's home are not working, if they are working in the home, the pizza was free. If not, the firefighters installed a new alarm or replaced the batteries. That's awesome.
Awesome experience and an awesome feeling to know that you're helping your community every way as possible, even if it's just pizza. So we all love it.
That's really nice. I just moved here and I hadn't even thought about smoke detectors and that. So that was really nice.
There's the power to it. I want to avoid this.
This year's Fire Prevention Week campaign theme is Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety. What a neat program. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, an anti-Semitic incident in Germany causes protest. Plus, theater workers go on strike. We'll have the latest, but first, it's 5:37.
Blocker checking out that one smoke alarm. Haven't seen him in a while. Temperatures ranging from 53 to 65. We've got a wide variety here. Joplin sits at 59. Most important thing, dense fog advisory, visibility numbers dipping quickly as the fog gets thicker and thicker. Wait till this afternoon. We're going to get a whole bunch of sunshine. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. Wind shifts to the southeast. And with that wind shift, an indicator that warmer temperatures ought to come after an 80-degree and pretty nice Thursday. We're talking about just scraping up against 90 there for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be back with World Watch right after this.
Topping World Watch, an incident in Germany raises some eyebrows. A popular German musician says he was victim to blatant anti-Semitism while checking into a hotel in Leipzig. Frederick Plagen has what happened next.
Jewish German musician Gil Ofarim close to tears. In this video he posted on Instagram right after he said staff at this hotel in eastern Germany told him they wouldn't allow him to check in unless he concealed a necklace bearing the Star of David.
He told me to put away my Magen David, my David Star. And I was really shocked and looked over to the other person and he just repeated the same sentence.
Gil Ofarim is a big star in Germany with thousands of fans, but he tells me the moment he was singled out and denied service for being Jewish, he never felt more alone.
Did anyone come to your aid? I mean, you would think when something like that happens that someone would jump in and support you, right?
No support, no one like speaking up, no one.
Gil Ofarim's video has gone viral in Germany. Hundreds protested outside the hotel to support him. And in a statement, the Westin Hotel, part of the Marriott Group, says it has launched an investigation. Quote, "Our goal is to integrate, support, and respect all our guests and employees, no matter which religion they believe in. The employees concerned have been suspended, and we will clarify the issue without compromises." But Gil Ofarim says so far the hotel has not apologized to him.
No, there was no apology, there was no statement, there was nothing.
On the same day as the incident in the German hotel, the Auschwitz Memorial announced that barracks at the former Nazi extermination camp, where more than 1 million, mostly Jewish people were killed, had been desecrated with anti-Semitic graffiti. Jewish groups have long been warning of a massive rise in anti-Semitism in Europe. The coronavirus pandemic has only made things worse, with conspiracy theorists like QAnon moving anti-Semitism more into the mainstream, the head of the American Jewish Committee in Berlin tells me.
During this protest, we have registered hundreds of anti-Semitic incidents, not necessarily crimes, but anti-Semitic incidents, and this has definitely fueled the rise of anti-Semitism in Germany over the last year.
And Gil Ofarim continues to say that he's absolutely shocked by this incident. He also says that he's not sure whether or not he's going to press charges against the hotel and possibly some of the staff. But he says what he really wants is for there to be fundamental action against anti-Semitism here in Germany. Fred Pleitgen, CNN, Berlin.
Longer and more intense dry seasons, thanks to climate change, is having deadly effects. One of these effects is forest fires, are spreading faster and are lasting longer. However, in Israel, a forest official is trying an alternative method to keep the danger at bay. Pine trees are being cut and exchanged out for native plants that burn slowly, such as olive trees and Jerusalem oak. A strategically placed olive grove helped keep an August fire away from a hospital. Smart thinking. The National Migration Institute of Mexico reportedly returned a group of 129 Haitian migrants to their home country. Mexican authorities said in a statement the migrants were returned by air yesterday. According to the statement, the flight was carried out in accordance with human rights and in agreement with consular authorities of that country. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, talking about giving back to the community. Earlier, we met Layla right there, a young girl with a rare form of brain cancer. Now, she's already had to deal with 2 surgeries as well as chemo, radiation therapies, and that's tough enough alone for anyone. And, keep in mind, she's 6. One thing that makes Layla different, her focus on life. As she tells us, she loves her dog, travel, swimming. Clearly it inspired the world around her. There's lemonade stands to a GoFundMe, and Layla even takes part in vaccine trials. This little girl has made a big difference to her community and inspired to do others to do the same. Our question to you is, how often do you give back to your community? And this comes as no surprise, knowing how the 4 states work. 51% of you say you try to do it on a weekly basis, 16% of you on a daily basis, and 33% of you, I know a lot of people even budget that as far as when it comes to finances for that annual giving, and we appreciate everything that you do. You can take part each and every morning. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote will take you directly there. You can also connect to us via our Facebook page. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. COVID-19 vaccination status is affecting some people's health insurance rates, but not in Missouri. Delta Airlines recently made headlines when it announced it was raising insurance premiums on its unvaccinated employees by $200 a month. Missouri's COVID-19 dashboard says a little over 48% of the state's population is fully vaccinated, which means a lot of Missourians will be paying more if their employer goes the same route as Delta. But the president of Joplin's Insurance Center says that's not currently the case in the Show Me state. Yesterday, some area students got a valuable lesson on fire safety. The Stella, Missouri Fire Department visited Triway Elementary. Firefighters taught the students about fire prevention and what to do if they are involved in a fire. Domino's in Pittsburgh is also taking part in Fire Prevention Week. Some customers yesterday were randomly selected and surprised at the door with their pizza delivered by a fire engine. Now, if smoke alarms in the customer's home were working, the pizza was free. If not, the firefighters installed a new alarm or replaced the batteries. Tuesday, a Facebook staffer testified to Congress about what she sees as the company prioritizing profits over public good. Focus at the hearing was on Facebook's internal research that showed Instagram can have a negative effect on young people. Josh Hawley plans to push legislation that could see tech companies sued over damages to children. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Degrees in Joplin as we stand about 11 minutes to the top of the 6 o'clock hour. Surrounding temperatures anywhere from 53 in southeast Kansas to 65 in southwest Missouri. Big factor for this morning, dense fog advisory lasting until 10 a.m. Visibility numbers will continue to get worse as we approach sunrise at 7:19. So remember, low beams on the headlights, a lot of room between you and other drivers. Please be very, very wary of kids heading off to the bus stop, because with the way this pea soup is going to stick with us here on this Thursday morning, it's going to be hard to see them. They're little things. Cars are much easier to see than little kids. Afternoon planner, after we get some sunshine, then we're headed in the right direction, all the way up into the high 70s today. A little warm up is well underway, and overnight, what we'll have is it'll be pretty calm and variable winds today. Overnight, that's going to shift in from the southeast. And you know, when the wind shifts, I don't care whether it's 5 to 10 miles per hour or 10 to 15 miles per hour, it's an indicator that it's about to warm up. So here we go, mid-October heat wave on our hands for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as we'll get to, if not eclipse, 90 degrees for 3 consecutive days. Sunday night going to bring us some thunderstorm activity back down into the mid-70s, low 80s for the beginning of next week. And of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
What's your
Massachusetts theater workers go on strike. Christina Rex has more on why they're doing it.
Disappointed.
Oh no, we're disappointed. We wanted to see Mamma Mia.
But there was no Mamma Mia. This line of cars behind me is people leaving the show, turned away after the backstage crew walked off the set.
No contract, no show!
Stagehands on strike just 2 hours before Mamma Mia's opening night here at the North Shore Music Theater.
They basically walked away from the negotiation table and said, we're done.
Sign the contract!
The crew unionized during the pandemic and has yet to come to a contract agreement with owner Bill Haney. This video taken in an interview with WBZ 1 year ago. We reached out to Bill for comment, but did not hear back.
On strike, shut them down! Beverly's a union town!
The union wants better wages and for everyone laid off during the pandemic to be brought back to work. To make their voices heard, they walked off the job.
It's a little bit saddening because we put so much work into the show, and we take pride in all of the shows that we do, but it's also kind of empowering because this shows that we need to get what we want.
Patrons were told 30 minutes before start that the show was canceled. Then this line of traffic was full of disappointed patrons and even some angry employees, ready to work after a year and a half without live theater.
They have the audacity to sit out here and strike against the one place in the world that's bringing some sort of normalcy to the community.
But the stagehands say they'll be here until the curtain closes on contract negotiations.
No contract, no show!
The show must go on somehow.
Well, no, they're saying not on our watch. It's not.
Right, not there. It's always interesting for the ones that aren't participating who want to work too.
Like the sign about paid peanuts. See that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm giving you the open floor.
What do you got behind you there?
Hey, we'll get off that one real fast. That is our Instagram page at KOAM News Now, and all you have to do is click on any one of these. It'll actually open you up a video with a small description there on the right-hand side, and that's also the same forecast that you can find on your Skywatch weather app. That is free, that is downloadable on all your mobile devices, or if you prefer Le Book, you can go to @Michael Hayslip, KOAM. That will coincidentally, and not so coincidentally, be the exact same video and forecast that you will find on our Instagram page as well. Speaking of Facebook, KOAM News Now Facebook page is where we have our Something to Talk About each and every morning. Introduced you to a little girl by the name of Layla earlier, 6-year-old in California. She's battling a rare form of childhood brain cancer, and just kind of talked about, this story was great about her outlook on life and kind of what she's inspiring people to do around her. And I know this really hits close to home for us, especially here at the KOAM family. And so we try to find our silver lining and our positive spin on anything that we can do. So our question to you this morning is, how often do you give back to your community? It really doesn't come any surprise that at 44% right now combined, daily and weekly, just because that's how great the 4-state is, and 60%. So yeah, probably set it aside annually, and I know that for some of you that could mean a big project, maybe around Thanksgiving or Christmas coming up, and for a lot of people too, it also means budgeting a certain financial means that you can afford to give to an organization that you know does well in your community. So I appreciate all the engagement this morning, and we're going to keep the poll open. We're going to keep it open all the way through the afternoon, to be honest with you, until somebody tells us to shut it. We just don't shut it down. We'll just keep it open until the bosses are like, you need to close that. Shh, don't tell them that. Sometimes we're able to pull that off. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect with us via Facebook. Be back right after this. We've got dense fog advisories till 10 a.m. It'll actually get worse here in the next several hours. Be safe out there. Temperatures in the 80s this afternoon. We'll break it all down after this.
Coming up, COVID drives insurance rate up for some states, but not Missouri. And some good COVID-19 news for PSU. Also, beware of scams when giving to charities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
4 consecutive days where we've been fighting the fog. Big difference this morning? Well, we got a dense fog advisory. Not that that makes previous 3 days any better. Not that it means today's going to be worse, quite frankly. Lasts all the way until 10 a.m. We will have sunrise at 7:19. That will certainly help. But our visibility numbers already dropping, and they will continue to drop as we head towards 7:19. Look at Welch and Miami. Now we're sitting at nil. We're down to 0.1, 1/10 of a mile in Iola. CJ, a notoriously poor spot for visibility, somehow still hanging on to about 7 miles. The Skywatch Storm Tracker does show you that once the sun is up, we won't have to fight through the clouds like we did yesterday. That's why it was able to linger so much. But we do have high humidity right now, sitting at 93% at Joplin Regional Airport. Our temperatures range anywhere from, say mid-50s now. You got 54s out in Neodesha and Independence. Nevada chiming in at 65. Monette and Cassville both at 59. Joplin bumping up quick too. Joplin was stuck at 58 for a while, now 61 in Miami at 55. Not a whole lot of action west of the Mississippi. A little bit there in Illinois. Monsoonal rain has stopped down to the south as well. Weather trend for us, sunny skies, highs around 80 degrees. Variable winds, going to be very, very light, no worries there. Or that green that you see up north, I don't even think it's going to hit the ground. It's just going to spin right around us and then lock in for some mid-October heat. After the wind shifts to the southeast overnight, we're going to roll up to 90 Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
All right, well, can't complain about how nice it's been. I wish we didn't have the warm up, but light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm looking for a little sunshine coming off of yesterday. While the majority of the rain stayed on the eastern side of southwest Missouri, we saw trace amounts of it in Joplin, just a raindrop and some drizzle every now and then, but it was just kind of a bad afternoon, so it'll be nice to have some sunshine.
I felt like you never know when it was going to start misting again.
Yeah, it would just come and go, and that's like I said, the precipitation amounts negligible. We saw as much as half an inch on the far eastern edge of our southwest Missouri counties. That was about it.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, COVID-19 vaccination status is affecting some people's health insurance rates, but not in Missouri. Delta Airlines recently made headlines when it announced it was raising insurance premiums on its unvaccinated employees by $200 a month. Missouri's COVID-19 dashboard says a little over 48% of the state's population is fully vaccinated, which means a lot of Missourians will be paying more if their employer goes the same route as Delta. But the president of Joplin's Insurance Center says that's not currently the case in the Show Me state.
We don't have any providers that we represent that I'm aware of that even ask the question if you're vaccinated or not. That's for group health insurance, life insurance, group life insurance, and certainly any workers' compensation. It's been a non-issue so far.
In our next half hour, we'll hear from the Insurance Center president on whether he thinks insurance providers will start asking about vaccination status in the near future. Pitt State University officials report 0 new COVID-19 cases in the past week. 27 symptomatic students were recently tested. None were found positive. In the same period, no faculty or staff members reported an infection. Last week, there was only 1 new positive case. The Jasper County Health Department reports 3 more residents have died from COVID-19. Officials say the residents are all women, 1 in her 30s, 1 in her 40s, and 1 in her 50s. These newest deaths bring the county's total to 222. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and many people will be looking for ways they can help fund charities trying to end the terrible disease. But the Better Business Bureau is warning people to be careful about what charities they donate to. The Bureau suggests always researching a charity before donating or buying pink ribbon products. You can find information about potentially fraudulent organizations on the BBB website. You can also use that site to report scams. Some area students on Wednesday got a valuable lesson on fire safety. The Stella, Missouri Fire Department visited Triway Elementary. The firefighters taught the students about fire prevention and what to do if they are involved in a fire.
So this week is Fire Prevention Week, and the Stella Fire Department has come down to talk to our pre-K through 4th graders about fire safety and what to do in case of an emergency, and just to kind of get them acquainted with what a fireman looks like so they won't be scared if they were ever to be in an emergency situation.
The fire prevention lesson was provided to pre-K through 4th graders. A new legislative audit says many Kansas school districts are not taking basic steps to protect their computer systems and the privacy of sensitive information collected about students. The report released by the legislature's auditing agency based its conclusions on a survey sent to the state's 286 local school districts, with 147 or 51% responding. The audit said more than a quarter of the school districts surveyed did not have antivirus software on all computers. Auditors said only 34% of districts said they scan computers for vulnerabilities at least once a month, while 35% said they never did it. Missouri Southern is hosting its Southern Summit. The Southern Summit is a chance for professors and other educators to develop tools to recruit and retain students. It's also an opportunity for staff members to connect.
It's usually individuals on campus, experts, in their own fields. So we have a lot of talent at Missouri Southern. We just don't get to necessarily share all of that with each other because we're kind of working in our departments or in our own groups. So this is a great opportunity for people to be able to mingle and to learn from each other and just to engage in that camaraderie that we have here going at Missouri Southern.
Well, this year's keynote speaker was Dr. Daryl Davis, Assistant Superintendent of Equity, Inclusion, and Innovation for Kansas City Public Schools. 6:07.
Remember, we are mired in a dense fog advisory all the way until 10 a.m. Not just us, it stretches far to the north and far to the east as well. But our visibility numbers have gotten as low as a tenth of a mile, if not zero. We saw a 0 earlier in Miami. Got to wait until 7:19, that's for sunrise, and then we can begin our work up toward 80 degrees. No relief really from the 90s until we get to Sunday night. That's when some thunderstorms will bring us cold front, put us back down to seasonable temperatures for the beginning of next week.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the UAE unveils the world's largest solar power plant. Plus, college students need to eat more vegetables. We'll tell you why. And Richard Branson debuts his latest venture. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, nearly 200,000 at-home coronavirus tests are being recalled after multiple false positive results. False positive signals that a person is infected with the virus when they are not. Test maker Illume says it is recalling dozens of lots that were shipped to retailers like Walmart, CVS, Target, and Amazon between April and August of this year. Well, it's looking like many Americans will be facing higher than usual natural gas prices in the coming months. Natural gas prices rose nearly 10% yesterday, hitting a peak not seen since 2008. Analysts say an increase in energy prices could hinder the U.S. economy, boost the cost of living, and escalate inflation fears. This isn't just an issue for the U.S. Natural gas prices in Europe have also rose to all-time records. Well, the first new cruise line in more than a decade launched in the U.S. last night. Virgin Voyages' billionaire Richard Branson is now in the cruise industry. Wendy Gillette spoke to him aboard his first cruise ship.
Virgin Voyages' Scarlet Lady set sail Wednesday night for its inaugural U.S. cruise from Miami. We were invited aboard. Bob Marston from Arkansas and his girlfriend Donna are also taking the 4-night trip to the Bahamas.
It's a maiden voyage, and it's Richard Branson, so, you know, we wanted to be here.
The launch was delayed 1.5 years because of the pandemic. Passengers, or sailors as they're called on the ship, must be fully vaccinated and were required to get an on-site rapid COVID test before boarding. For now, the ship is capped at half capacity and masks must be worn indoors.
So the combination of all of that is this, very controlled environment, and that allows us to create what I think is the safest possible way to travel.
As you might expect from a man who launched himself into space earlier this year. Were you scared?
I wasn't scared at all.
You weren't?
No.
Richard Branson has no reservations about competing in a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It reminds me of when I started Virgin Atlantic and people said you'll never succeed against BA or Pan Am or TWA in those days. But we only had one plane to fill, and initially, and Virgin Atlantic's still going 37 years later.
Branson wants to be a disruptor in the cruise industry. The line is adults only. The cabin beds are the only ones at sea that transform into loungers during the day. There are also hammocks on all balconies, champagne on demand via an app, the only tattoo parlor on a ship, and 20 bars and restaurants.
Sounds like a strange thing to say, but I've never fancied going on a cruise. So I asked myself, why did I not fancy going on a cruise? And I thought maybe with the wonderful people we've got at Virgin, we could create the kind of cruise line that myself, my family, my friends, would love to go on.
He says it's not just for the young, but definitely for the young at heart. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Miami.
All group fitness classes, Wi-Fi gratuities, meals, and soft drinks are included in the cost of a Virgin Voyages cruise. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back with the world's largest solar power plant.
Accidents.
Deep in the Swehan Desert lies an ocean of silicon and steel. Noor Abu Dhabi is the world's largest single-site solar power plant. Stretching over 3 square miles, it's at the heart of the UAE's pivot from fossil fuels to clean energy sources.
It reaches up to 49 to 55 Celsius in the summer.
Othman Al Ali, the CEO of Emirates Water and Electricity Company in Abu Dhabi, is one of the people leading this energy transition.
We are on an ambitious path to increase the solar capacity connected to the grid by 8 gigawatt by 2030. That will mean it delivers 50% of our energy in Abu Dhabi from clean and renewable sources.
Is that realistic, that target?
Definitely realistic and definitely achievable. Our plans are ready to be implemented.
Back in 2017, the nation pledged that half of its energy would be clean by 2050. The UAE is also investing in nuclear, and when fully operational, the 4 reactors here at the Baraka plant will supply up to 1/4 of the country's electricity needs.
nuclear energy is a fundamental part of UAE energy system. It will provide about 40 to 50% of the UAE baseload requirement, and that's going to be an absolutely carbon-free energy.
The shift to clean energy around the world won't be cheap. The UN's partner Renewable Energy Agency says to meet the global push to keep temperatures from rising more than 1.5 degrees, the world will need to cough up more than $130 trillion before 2050. Significant sums have already been pledged, but convincing governments and markets that this all makes economic sense will be a big challenge.
What our analysis also shows is for every $1 million spent in the energy transition technologies would lead to 3 times more jobs getting created. So it's not just makes sense in terms of climate action, but it's also makes sense in terms of economics and the politics of it.
While the UAE is yet to set a net zero goal, the Emirates sees the opportunities laid out by the International Renewable Energy Agency as key drivers for its future economic growth, as it weans itself off its heavy reliance on fossil fuels. And while OPEC's third largest producer will continue to sell oil, this solar plant is evidence it has not just the ambition, but the means to chart a cleaner future. Becky Anderson, CNN, Abu Dhabi.
Well, if you want to talk about solar power, we're going to have plenty of sunshine here for the next several days. I was actually fast forwarding, seeing what we could anticipate for a high school football Friday. But before we get there, let's talk about our current watches and warnings, because the dense fog advisories stretch from the Kansas-Nebraska state line and the Missouri-Iowa state line down through us and then extend east all the way to the other side of the Mississippi. Our fog advisory is running all the way until 10 o'clock this morning. Our visibility numbers, they are getting worse as the time goes by. Welch and Miami now sitting at 0. Independence dropping below half a mile. Oswego down to 1 mile. Even though we're seeing a little rebound there in Carthage and Lamar, there we go. Live change getting worse as we progress towards sunrise at 7:19. Now, at least we will get some sunshine to help out because we won't have the cloud cover to fight like we did yesterday. Temperatures ranging from about 53 to 64. It's a wide variety as you move from west to the east, and up to the northeast is actually where we have the warmer temperatures. Finish off the afternoon around 80, whole bunch of sunshine. Tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, getting close to 90. Sunday night into Monday, we're going to have a large system approach us, bring us some widespread rain, but that will actually drop our temperatures back down to seasonable for mid-October. Be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, finding ways to help healthcare workers deal with stress and the risk linked to picky eating when you get to college. Michael George has a look at some of the day's top health stories.
Picky eaters in college may be losing out on valuable fiber and vegetables in their diet. In a new study of almost 500 undergraduates, more than a third identified themselves as picky eaters. In addition to the dietary impacts, researchers found picky eating was also linked to a fear of being evaluated by others, lower quality of life, and distress about what to eat. A new study in France looks at the stress healthcare workers are facing during the pandemic. Not surprisingly, researchers found stress levels spiked for doctors and nurses caring for COVID patients. The study authors say the goal now should be identifying ways to minimize and prevent stress for these health professionals. Another study examines the chronic stress facing breast cancer patients. Researchers at The Ohio State University found breast cancer patients with long-term exposure to social and environmental stress, like racism, poverty, and isolation, had a greater likelihood of stopping chemotherapy treatments at a higher risk of death. That's a look at some of the day's top health stories. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
And like you said, that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We're mired in it, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. That dense fog advisory lasts all the way until 10. Look at this, stretches all the way up to the state lines of Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, drops down into northeast Oklahoma, and then takes off to the east all the way through southern Arkansas on the other side of the Mississippi, And then after you run out of the dense fog advisory, then you run into flash flooding issues for portions of Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas. That's because they've got that big system that's hanging off of the coast there. It never did become, it never did become a named storm, but that's going to be their greatest concern for today. After our greatest concern being fog, our next concern will be a hot weekend, close to 90s Friday through Sunday.
Coming up, COVID drives insurance rates up for some states, but not yet in Missouri. And some good COVID-19 news for PSU. Also beware of scams when giving to charities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. Well, it's almost 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll have those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Been talking about fog all morning long, and we're going to have to keep talking about it because it's not going anywhere. It's just going to hang over us with the dense fog advisory lasting until an impressive 10 a.m. I think we'll get it canceled a little bit before then because we won't have the sun fighting through the cloud cover like it did yesterday. But need everybody to be aware that we have visibility numbers that are extremely poor. Earlier, we even had some zeros up on the board. 2 worst ones right now are going to be Independence at 0.8 of a mile, Iola only at 0.1 of a mile. And the difference between Monday through Wednesday, when we had the dense fog in the 4 states yet didn't have any advisories, is it's much more widespread right now with the high humidity and the warm temperatures. And that's evident. And bye-bye 40s that we had earlier this week. 53 all the way up to 64 is where we stand. Joplin sitting at 61. All the rain activity going to stay off to the north and east of us, and the severe thunderstorm risk map doesn't even touch us, nor will it for a couple of days. It's going to be sunny and dry for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and most of Sunday. Get up close to the 80s today. That's just a little bit above average for this time of year. And all that green at the top, that's not even going to be able to hit the ground. Then get ready for abnormally warm October temperatures. We're talking about close to 90, if not exceeding it, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Well, I wish it wouldn't get so warm, but like you said earlier, it'll be nice to have the sunshine.
Yeah, we will get a whole good dose of sunshine here. We just need it. 7:19 is sunrise. Quicker it gets here, quicker we can get rid of that fog.
There we go. All right, thanks, Michael. COVID-19 vaccination status is affecting some people's health insurance rates, but not in Missouri. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to a Joplin insurance specialist to find out if the pandemic is affecting premiums.
Delta Airlines recently made national news when it announced it was raising insurance premiums on its unvaccinated employees to the tune of $200 a month. According to Missouri's COVID-19 dashboard, a little over 48% of the Show Me State's population is fully vaccinated, which means a lot of Missourians will be paying more for their health insurance if their employers go the same route as Delta. But the president of Joplin's Insurance Center says that's not currently the case, at least with the major insurance providers that his company represents.
We don't have any providers that we represent that I'm aware of that even ask the question if you're vaccinated or not. That's for group health insurance, life insurance, group life insurance, and certainly any workers' compensation. It's been a non-issue so far.
But what separates Delta Airlines from other employers who offer health insurance to their employees? Mr. Brothers has some thoughts.
Many larger companies are self-insured, and so therefore they define their own benefit plans, and they can make whatever requirements for their plans that they want to. But in our local marketplace, there are self-insured companies. We've heard of no one requiring people to pay more premium because they're not vaccinated.
And while the Insurance Center president can't predict the future, he says he doesn't see the situation changing.
My own opinion is we won't see it become an issue from an insurance underwriting perspective. They don't ask questions about other vaccinations and things or flu shots.
In Joplin, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Insurers may not be raising premiums based on COVID-19 vaccination status, but an analysis from the Kaiser Family Foundation found that 72% of health insurance plans are no longer waiving out-of-pocket coronavirus treatment costs. Pitt State University officials report 0 new COVID-19 cases in the past week. 27 symptomatic students were recently tested. None were found positive. In the same period, no faculty or staff members reported an infection. Last week, there was only 1 new positive case. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and many people will be looking for ways they can help fund charities who are trying to end the terrible disease. But the Better Business Bureau is warning people to be careful about which charities they donate to. The Bureau suggests always researching a charity before donating or buying pink ribbon products. You can find information about potentially fraudulent organizations on the BBB website. You can also use that site to report scams. Attorney General Merrick Garland is asking the FBI and state attorneys general to get involved in violence against school workers. Excuse me. Crimes from threats to assaults have been on the rise as school boards across the country address controversial issues like mask mandates and how educators teach about things like race and sexual equality. Garland's memo comes days after the National School Board Association asks the Departments of Justice, Education, and Homeland Security to investigate. That organization referred to clashes at public meetings as forms of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. Garland is asking federal and state officials to meet with local leaders to discuss strategies to protect school workers. On Tuesday, a Facebook staffer testified to Congress about what she sees as the company prioritizing profits over public good. Focus of the hearing was on Facebook's internal research that showed Instagram can have a negative effect on young people. We spoke with Missouri Senator Josh Hawley yesterday, who said he's pushing legislation that could see tech companies sued over damages to children.
What we've found out from the big tech companies is that they're so dishonest. They target our kids. They know that spending a lot of time on their platforms is bad for our kids, and then they've lied about it to Congress. Here's the easy solution, I think. Let parents sue. If your kid has suffered mental harm, they've suffered real harm, and you can prove it, you ought to be able to sue them.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg addressed the whistleblower's allegations on Facebook, saying in part that instead of ignoring that young people use technology, tech companies should build experiences that meet their needs while also keeping them safe. A new legislative audit says many Kansas school districts are not taking basic steps to protect their computer systems and the privacy of sensitive information collected about students. The report released by the legislature's auditing agency based its conclusions on a survey sent to the state's 286 local school districts, with 147 or 51% responding. The audit said that more than a quarter of the school districts surveyed did not have antivirus software on all computers. Auditors said that only 34% of districts said they scan computers for vulnerabilities at least once a month, while 35% said they never did it. Domino's in Pittsburgh is taking part in Fire Prevention Week. Some customers yesterday were randomly selected and surprised at the door with their pizza delivered by a fire engine. Now, if the smoke alarms in the customer's home were working, the pizza was free. If not, the firefighters installed a new alarm or replaced the batteries.
It's just an awesome experience and an awesome feeling to know that you're helping your community every way as possible, even if it's just pizza. So we all love it.
That's really nice. I just moved here and I hadn't even thought about smoke detectors and that. So that was really nice.
This year's Fire Prevention Week campaign theme is Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, a normal day at a Texas school turns deadly. Plus, how often do you give back to your community? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Our visibility is slipped below a mile in Independence and Iola. The dense fog advisory lasts till 10 a.m. It is dense. It is a widespread as well. It's a weather trend that by the time we get to the afternoon and get some sunshine, lift us up close to about 80 degrees. Light and variable wind today. Tomorrow, or overnight into tomorrow, that breeze is going to shift to the southeast. That is an indicator of some warmer temperatures, perhaps even challenging a record there on Saturday. We'd have to get up to 93, but if we do, we would break the record that dates back to 1980. We'll be back with Nation Watch right after this.
Want to know?
Topping Nation Watch this morning, what was supposed to be a normal day at school turned deadly. 4 people were injured, 2 of them shot after a student opened fire inside a Dallas area high school Wednesday morning. Jason Allen reports from Arlington, Texas.
The chaos at Timberview High School in Arlington, Texas unfolded in the early hours Wednesday morning.
There was a fight between a student and another individual in a class.
Police say Timothy George Simpkins was involved in a fight with another student. At some point during the altercation, he drew a weapon, wounding several people.
Just based on the information, I know there were more than 2 or 3 shots that were fired.
Heavily armed SWAT teams rushed to the school and entered the building to look for the 18-year-old student who had fled. Students were locked down as frantic parents raced to the scene.
I mean, we're scared. We're scared. We just want to go in and get our kid.
After police cleared the campus, students left those locked down classrooms, got onto school buses, and were brought to a nearby performing arts center, where parents were eagerly waiting to be reunited with them.
Thank God for the teachers and staff at Timberview.
Hours later, Simpkins turned himself in with an attorney without incident.
You never know when it's going to be your last day. So I'm very thankful to have my daughter with me.
I'm so glad just that everything's okay now and I'm fine.
The 18-year-old will be charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Jason Allen, CBS News, Arlington, Texas.
There is video of the fight circulating on social media that has been shared with the police. Students say the suspect is the one getting beat up. Yesterday, the FBI rolled onto a quiet street in Randolph, Massachusetts. Heavy machinery dug through a property for hours as agents sifted through soil in a tent nearby. What was the FBI doing? Looking for a specific piece of evidence connected to an ongoing investigation. A neighbor was told it was connected to an active missing persons case from 2005. There was no indication from the FBI if they found what they were looking for. A man seen at the Dodgers-Red Sox game in 2016 is believed to be a wanted fugitive on the FBI's most wanted list. The man believed to be seen behind the home plate is none other than John Ruffo. He was convicted in the late 1990s in a $350 million bank fraud scheme. The FBI was given a tip about this recently and is hoping to get information that will lead to Ruffo's arrest, as he is more than likely using a different name. The last sighting of Ruffo was in 1998 at an ATM in New York, the day he was supposed to report to prison. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
He's obviously not trying that hard to hide. You know, we think a buddy of his called him up. He's like, hey, you want to go watch the Stros Dodgers play? I got tickets behind home plate.
Right.
He's
You,
like,
won't, be, you
cool.
won't be on TV. No one will recognize you.
Right. At least he should have wore the Bobby Valentine mustache. The Groucho Marx glasses and with the mustache. That would have been great.
Okay, well, to their defense, or his friend's defense that got him to go to the game, if that's the case, I like this theory, it took him 16 years to identify him behind home plate.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. They're like, yeah, if you were at this game umpteen years ago, let us know if you ate a hot dog next to this. Give me a break.
Seriously, who was looking back at video 16 years ago?
Dude's long gone.
Huh?
All right, this morning for our Something to Talk About on the KOM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, giving back to the community. As earlier we met Layla, young girl with a rare form of brain cancer who's dealt with several surgeries, chemo, radiation therapies. Tough enough for anyone, let alone a 6-year-old. Of course, that hits near and dear to the KOM family heart right there. But one thing we learned from Layla is she's inspired the community around her to do wonderful things, not only on her behalf, but you know, she's just kind of an eye-opener. And so we're asking you this morning, how often do you give back to your community? And right now we've got 33% of you do it on a daily or weekly basis, 53% say once a year, and 14% go with monthly. Doesn't matter when you do it, just do it. That's the important part. You can take part each and every morning, komnewsnow.com/vote, or through our KOM News Now Facebook page. We'll be back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Sergeant Alan Martin in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Stark, Kansas joined the military in 1990. From 2003 to 2005, Martin fought proudly during Operation Iraqi Freedom. To Sergeant Alan Martin, we thank you, our four-state hero.
Begins with Jameson Joe Martin. His buddies call him JJ. Jameson Joe turning the big number 3. Happy birthday, big man, and we're.
All right, Riker Judd Saporito turning 8 years old this year, celebrating in Columbus. Happy birthday, Riker.
Titan football pride right there. Ethan Barnes, he's got a 9th birthday. Sharp dress dude. Ethan, a happy 9th birthday to you in Miami.
Dylan Bond turning 11 years old this year. Check out that catch there. Dylan is in Riverton, Kansas.
Great catch, Dylan. And you know, he's to that age now where, Dylan, I want you to start introducing yourself when you meet people as Bond. Dylan Bond. Do it.
How do you know he's not already doing it?
Renner Jones is in Nevada. Oh, Nevada Tiger Pride out there on the football field. Renner, a happy 11th birthday to you in Nevada.
All right. And in Chanute, Tyra Bogle celebrating birthday number 17 this year.
Show him the way, Tyra. Show him the way. Taylor Boney turning 24. That's a marvelous picture right there. Taylor, a happy birthday in Carterville.
In Pittsburgh, Richard Westbury celebrating the big 4-0 this year. Hope it's a great one for you, Richard.
Run out to Neosho Falls, and that's where Vicky German, that's a great smile right there. Vicky, a happy 57th birthday.
Definitely having fun in that picture there. And Bob Allen is celebrating birthday number 92. Mr. Allen is in Girard, Kansas. Happy birthday.
Couple anniversaries. We'll begin with Tracy and Berta Parks, celebrating their 27th anniversary. Tracy and Berta, big congratulations to you in Yates Center.
All right. JD and Kathy Bond are celebrating 43 years together. I love that picture there.
Honeymoon picture.
Yeah, they're in Humboldt, Kansas. Yeah, their little honeymoon picture. That was taken at Penn Hills in the Poconos. Of course, that is in Pennsylvania.
Maybe they got to take in a race. I don't know. But yeah, and then beautiful up there.
I like it.
Kevin Carpenter, happy 51. Kevin is in Quapaw. And John Wolmerdorf, a happy 48th birthday. Mr. John, he is in Girard. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all on this October the 7th. That's where you can turn them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com. Also go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
It's been the fog. This will be the 4th consecutive day. The first, however, that we've actually been under a dense fog advisory. It's all-encompassing of the 4 states and lasting up until 10 a.m. Even those 3 counties to the far north, we've seen visibility numbers very, very poor up there as well. So let's not kid ourselves. Just about anywhere you go, you're going to run into it. We're down to nil in Iola. We're down to half a mile in Welch and Miami. We've been hanging on to about 5 to 6 miles of visibility throughout most of southwest Missouri, and a little rebound in Independence. And when I say little rebound, that's simply because Indy got above the 1 mile mark. Now, after we hit sunrise at 7:19, we've got 29 minutes here. Then we can begin to burn this off because our cloud cover remains pretty light. Kind of a dividing line from the northwest down to the southeast as far as where our temperatures are. Warmer as you push up to the north and the east compared to what we see down to the south and to the west. About a 10-degree difference as a matter of fact, but eventually we'll all end up close to 80 degrees. As you can tell, that color contour just kind of weaves its way right through Iowa down to the central portion of us. Like right there is what I'm talking about. That's why it gets a little warmer just out to the east. But jet stream's going to push all the rain for today east of the Mississippi. There's severe thunderstorm risk map. Doesn't even come close to touching us. What we do have is off the mid-Atlantic coast, just about to hit the Carolinas, that big low-pressure tropical system never did become a named storm, nor will it, now that it's going to hit land, but that's going to cause some serious flooding issues for them as they head into the weekend. Our serious issue, number 1, the fog. Number 2, the warm-up. Now, today's not going to be bad. High around 80 degrees overnight. We'll go low to mid-60s. Now, I don't think that rain from central Missouri even hits the ground. Whole bunch of sunshine, and then say hello to abnormally warm October temperatures. Close to 90 degrees Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Kicking in Sunday night, thunderstorm activity. Carry us into Monday morning. And what that will do is bring a cold front with it, get us down to pretty seasonable temperatures there all through the middle of next week. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOM Morning News right after this.